Hey, Mike. Yes,
Hello.
our next speaker is Mike Stackhouse, and Mike is going to talk to us about Tplyr, an intuitive framework for building clinical safety summaries. Mike, take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Thanks. As Melvin mentioned, my presentation today is called Tplyr, an intuitive framework for building clinical safety summaries. So Tplyr is a package developed by my team at Atorus, and we intend it to be a grammar of data format and summary. So what it does is it does the data preparation steps necessary to create clinical safety summaries. What you get out of it is going to be a data frame, and we leave it to you to style and create your PDF, HTML, RTF outputs, whatever you're producing with powerful packages like GT, Huxtable, Cable, any of those presentation packages that are available. But what you get from Tplyr is going to be a data frame back to you. And what it does is it abstracts away a lot of the redundant summarization syntax that is repetitive within clinical safety summaries. So in the pharmaceutical world and the regulatory piece of it, a lot of companies have standard SAS macros that have been implemented for decades at this point that create their safety outputs. And this really makes the cost of producing your safety outputs virtually free within SAS. But as we continue to migrate towards open source languages like R, a lot of companies are left to start building up this foundation for themselves from scratch. So we wanted to put Tplyr out there as a package that can really help you accelerate this and start implementing your own company templates to pop out your safety tables and get back to that point where this is virtually free and using R and the places that you can go with R and the other powerful things that it has to offer. So within Tplyr, I think that a really good way to represent the design that we put together is with a demographics table. So what you see here is just a bit of a template of some variables that are presented in a demographics table. And so when it gets down to the summary, you have two variables shown on the page here. You have sex, which is a discrete variable where you're counting the number of subjects within each group, and then you have the n and the percent counts. And then you have age, which is a continuous variable, and you're really just doing descriptive statistics. As you add more variables into the mix, you'll have things like age categories, race, so on and so forth, and really you're just going to have two different types of summaries, counting and descriptive statistics. So Tplyr breaks this down into this framework where you have an encapsulated table, and then you start layering in these summaries. Because when you summarize sex, it's really going to be the same computation that you're doing on a variable like race or country, so on and so forth. So what Tplyr offers you is easy construction of the table using an intuitive syntax where when you look at the mock that you have provided by your statistician, you can envision creating the table through syntax rather than focus on the computation necessary to get the numbers that you're presenting. We did a lot of work on smart string formatting that makes it really easy to specify how you want the numbers represented on the page, and I'll talk more about that in the coming slides. And it gives you a great deal of flexibility in what is performed and how it's presented without specifying hundreds of parameters. Coming from the SAS programming world, I've seen a lot of nightmare macros that have 15, 20 parameters to get the output that you want. It kind of grosses me out, so this is something that we wanted to put together to make it really easy and leverage the functional programming style of R to get a much more intuitive framework put into place to be able to easily construct these tables. So I talked over two of the types of summaries that Tplyr is focused on. You have your counting, you have your descriptive statistics. The third layer that we offer is shifting. So it's really just an abstraction of counting, and when you have shifting, you're going to have a from variable and a to variable, and you're summarizing some sort of change in state. So we allow you to do counting on discrete variables. You also have that abstraction of shifting with your from and your to, and then you have descriptive statistics to be able to prop out your mean, standard deviation, median, so on and so forth. So the string formatting is honestly where a lot of the time within Tplyr is spent because it's easy enough to do the counting, it's easy enough to do your descriptive statistics, but when you're presenting, particularly in those RTF monospaced outputs, a lot of time that you're spending programmatically is just preparing the string for presentation, and that's not really someplace that you want to spend too much of your time because that's not the science, that's just presentation and getting the numbers into the output to look pretty. So across the different layer interfaces that we have a common interface for string formatting, and this controls a lot of what summaries are performed and how the data are presented. It gives you explicit and intuitive control over the presentation. So when you're deciding how you want your strings presented, that XX, XX.X that you see in the first bullet point on the second thing here is really how you enter your string formatting. The X's are going to allocate the amount of space that's available to each number that you're displaying, and then you put your parentheses and your percents in where you want to see them, and then everything will appear in line for you so that when you're using a monospaced font that you'll get that nice aligned presentation where your decimal points align, your parentheses align, so on and so forth. But when you're talking about decimal precision, especially when you get into lab presentations, you need to vary the decimal precision based on the lab parameter that you're presenting. So we also have automated decimal precision built in here, where you base the decimal precision on the data as collected, and you can apply maximum caps for when you have some floating point decimal that was captured very strangely, and you don't want to see it out to 11 decimal places. So you can apply a max there to cap it. So let's look at some code. So this is very similar to what Jeremy presented earlier with the demographics table that was within safety graphics. And this is the code that you'll use to produce just a summary for age and age categories. So you're going to create your table. You have ADSL, and then you specify a treatment variable, which is going to control the columns of the results that you get out for each separate treatment group. You have a subset parameter where you can do that at the table level. You can also filter the layer level down further if you want to, but that table level subset will apply across all of the layers. And then to do a descriptive statistics summary, I'm going to add a layer. So that's going to add one of those block groups. And I'm going to do group_desk to do a descriptive statistics summary. I'm going to use the variable age, and then by allows me to specify my row labels that I'm going to present in one of my row label columns. You can also use grouping variables here for when you're doing something like a lab summary where you want to see by parameter and visit, and you can mix and match that with text strings to do just text specified row labels. And then to do the next count summary, I'm going to do another layer, and I'm going to do group_count to do a counting layer. I'll do age group 1 as my variable. I apply my row label, and then the build function is going to give that data frame back to you. And this is the data set that you're going to get back from that summary. And this is using the CDISC data, which you can see in some of the up on GitHub from the CDISC pilot replication that we did. And we have links to get this data if you want to use it for yourself. But on the left, you're going to have your row label column. So I have my age years and my age categories. Row label 2 for descriptive statistics is going to give back to me a description of the summary that's being performed in each row. And for the counting groups, it's going to give to me the values within that variable. So I'm going to have each of the different age categories that I have. The results columns are going to have the summaries that I wanted to perform, and then for the descriptive statistics, and then the counting for your n%. And then we offer order variables, which allows you to sort your output on the back end using something like Tplyr or range, which can be useful, especially in things like adverse event summaries where your sorting can get a little wonky. In an independent validation scenario, if you're doing double programming, it gives something to really help you do all the sorting so that your validator can match you. But let's take things a step forward, or a step further, and this is going to be just a modification of the summary that we just performed. So if I want to modify the descriptive statistics, I'm going to use the set format strings function. On the left, where you see mean, standard deviation, Q1, median, Q3, those are those are setting the row label however I want to see that. And then the fstring calls allow you to configure how you want to see the data presented. This allows you to put multiple summary parameters on each row. So if I want to, in the third row there, you can see Q1, median, and Q3. And that's going to put within the summary Q1, median, and Q3 all on the same row. And then I'm using A.A here. So the A is going to trigger auto precision. And the numbers will fill in those spots exactly as it's shown there with the manually collected precision that I want to see. On the count summary, I'm going to do set format strings again, but what I'm going to do here is use X's to say I specifically want this amount of space allocated for that number, and then I can do 2 spaces for the N and then 2 spaces for the % and get that N%-like format. And you can see here how it changes the output. So in the counting, I no longer have the decimal point within the percentages, and you can see that the descriptive statistics, the display format that I get here has changed, so that I have mean and standard deviation on separate rows, and then Q1, median, and Q3 all on the same row. It automatically picked up the decimal precision that I wanted to see within what I specify, or within the age variable, and then the order variables are available there as well. So this is a lot to pack into a 10-minute presentation. So we have expo booths available if you want to go check out and see a more in-depth demonstration of Tplyr. We also set up a RStudio Cloud project so that you can go and you can test drive it for yourself. We also have another package available, Pharma RTF, which has been thrown around a little bit at this conference when discussing RTF outputs. We have an expo booth for that as well if you want to see it, where Eli Miller walks through it. And we have package websites for both of these with a lot of documentation that we've written to help you see the features that we've added into this and what it can do for you. I also want to call out the Fuse standard analysis white papers, as we use that to build a lot of the design behind Tplyr and the things that we wanted it to do. They have great white papers on adverse events, demographics, disposition of medications, and measures of central tendency. So those really help drive the things that we wanted to put in here and how we wanted to allow you to present data. So thanks for Pharma and letting me come out and talk, and I hope to see you guys in the expo booths.
Thank you, Mike. Great talk. I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to getting hold of that Tplyr package.